don't know how to fix that on this end because it's my computer laptop. So I want to get one time to get on. So I will post that in the room one more time. To call in. Zach, I'll do a quick roll call to see who we have on the line.
Unmuted.
Alright, if you guys are joining us, go ahead and please state your name and where you're calling from.
Loretta Dillard from Augusta, Georgia.
Alright, welcome. Who else do we have? Adrian, North Carolina. Welcome. I heard Dr. Smith and somebody else right after him. Well, welcome. Superstar Jones, welcome. Gerald in North Carolina. Gerald, welcome.
Ohio.
Alright, welcome. Robert Alexander, Atlanta, Georgia. Robert Alexander, welcome. Alright, let me get the slides back up here and we'll go ahead and get started. And this is Super Bowl weekend, so I'm not going to keep you guys late tonight. So, especially my wife said I better spend some time with her tonight since I'm going to be not paying her no attention tomorrow for the Super Bowl. Anyway, welcome. This is our Saturday evening live line training.
Muted.
I'm out of here. As I was stating earlier, before the computer acted crazy on me, is that this information that I share is the most important information for my business. This is what I spend 90% of my time on learning and mastering and soaking it up like a sponge. And I'll tell you guys right now, you already know about the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. What he did was he was contracted and hired by Andrew Carnegie to study all the successful people. And what's interesting, well, I just finished watching season 1 on The Men Who Built America. It's on the History Channel. And they go over Vanderbilt, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Ford, all the giants, just these three guys here, Rockefeller, Carnegie, and not Vanderbilt, J.P. Morgan. Those three individuals were combined worth was over $1 trillion. Just those three. At the end, by the time he died, Andrew Carnegie was worth over $400 billion. Not 400 million, 400 billion. The richest man in the world right now, Carlos Slim, is less than $60 billion. Then he was worth more than the top 40 richest people in the world today combined. One person. And those are the people that Napoleon Hill was studying. So if you have time, and in fact, I would advise you to make the time to rent the series. You can get it on Amazon.com if you have Amazon Prime. Get The Men Who Built America, or look for it on Hulu or DVD. Season 1 that's on right now. But it is just fascinating watching them. And the number one thing that I've heard them state over and over again, and every single one of them failed, and they failed dramatically. It's not like, just one little failure or one little mistake. They made huge mistakes, and the mistakes that they made cost the entire economy. Almost two mini depressions, 2 recessions, the death of the railroad industry, the death of labor. You talk about thousands of people's lives at stake from them making a mistake or not, and they weren't afraid to take the risk. There's one thing that set them apart from everybody else, and so it's all about, they had a certain mindset to them. And this is something that I didn't start to understand till later in life. And when I say later in life, it's the last couple of years. I'm only 36 years old. But I spent the years between 21 and 32 not understanding this, just trying to figure this out. So I see people dropping off on the webinar side, so I don't know why. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and continue this, and I will type again in the webinar the telephone number. But attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. It's all about mindset. All about mindset. Now, why is that so important? Well, first and foremost, you must know your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it because you want to spend more time with your family? You want to have college education for your kids? You want to be able to buy a new home? You want to be debt-free? You want to have family vacation? Give more time to church? You want to have retirement? You want to be able to buy a boat car? It doesn't matter. It's completely up to you. Why are you doing what you do? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? What is motivating you? And to help you out, this late at night, what you want to be able to do is, before you go to sleep, especially those of you on the East Coast, you want to ask yourself this question. What would you do with your life if money was no longer an object? If you could do anything that you want, you could purchase anything in the world that you want, what would you do? And write it all down. And then I want you to think about, once you've done all those things, once you've bought all the houses, once you've traveled everywhere you want to go to, once you've helped all the families and nonprofits, and Monday morning rolls around, you wake up and you have more money in the bank account than before you went on your shopping spree. What would you do with your time, the next 24 hours of your day? You must understand that all of us are allotted the same amount of time in the day. Rich people don't have more hours in a day than average people do. We all share the same amount of time. What is important is what we do with that time. Rich people are able to do a lot more because it's their time. We average people, it's not our time, because most people are spending 8 to 10 hours of their day on a job building somebody else's dream. Now imagine you have that time back for yourself, and you already spent everything, you have more money in the bank account than before. What would you do? Most people never even think about that. So I'm forcing you to think about this now. And you're doing it right before you go to sleep. Your brain doesn't sleep. Your brain, your subconscious will still be going over this in your head. And that's a good thing. So that's what you want to do. Figure out your why. The next step is you must set short-term and long-term goals. You must decide for yourself, personal and business. Where do you want to be in the short term? We just ended our very first month of 2013. See how fast time flies? We have 11 months left in this year. 1 month already down. Are you any better off today than you were January 1st? Are you any better off today? Did you accomplish anything over the last 30 days? That's important because a lot of people made New Year's resolutions. And most people have already quit their New Year's resolution. If you do something for 22 days consistently, it becomes a habit. Most people don't do things for 22 days and they fall back into their old habits. So set a short-term goal. What are you going to accomplish for this month of February over the next 28 days? If you're in our business with vitel, we can show you how to get to at least $500 a month in residual income in the next 28 days. $500 a month. A good short-term goal. What's a long-term goal? How about walk off your job? How about being able to pay off some of that debt? See, that's one of my long-term goals. My wife and I were college educated. They may say we're educated, right? Like the Cosby. My wife has a master's degree, undergrad and a master's degree. I have an undergrad, and I'm actually 2 semesters away from a master's degree if I ever decide to go back. So between us, we have 4 colleges of higher institutions. My wife went to Clark Atlanta University and then Temple University. I went to Morehouse College and then Laverne University, University of Laverne. 4 institutions. Do you think they cost some money? Oh yeah. $120,000. Right now, we've got our debt down to $40,000 in college loans that we're paying off. So that's a long-term goal, to be completely debt-free as far as student loans. The President of the United States and his wife didn't finish off their college loans until they were over 40 years old, 40-something years old. So that's a good long-term goal. How about buying yourself a house? You know, so set your long-term goal. What about in the business? How about getting the top position of the company? And Penny just came on. She doesn't know that she can't hear me. So let me do that. So set your short-term and long-term goals. You must understand that it takes time to grow anything. It takes time to grow anything. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Even if you're in business, that's one thing that I learned. My son is watching this, The Men Who Built America for his history class. Now he's just learning about history. I'm watching it because I know the history, but I'm gaining something. I'm watching the habits of these guys. You know, they all came from different backgrounds, and all of them were self-made. Self-made. From Rockefeller to J.P. Morgan to Ford to Andrew Carnegie. All these guys were self-made men that had nothing, that risked it all. And it didn't happen overnight. What set them apart from everybody else, even Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla, that failed over and over again, is that they just kept going. They planted their seed, and they watered it. And when everybody else gave up and quit, they didn't. They knew eventually it's going to happen. What's also interesting in that series is you have commentators, and the commentators are today's billionaires. Steve Wynn, Donald Trump, Mark Cuban. And they're all saying the same thing now. 120 years later, they're saying the same thing that the original types were saying. They failed over and over and over again. But they just kept going until they succeeded. See, if you are in this thinking that this is a lottery ticket, that you're going to get started today and you're going to become a millionaire overnight, I hate to say it, but you're wasting your time. Go back to your job. Now, why do I say that? Well, you spent 30 to 40 years of your life learning habits that has gotten you to where you are today. And if you look in the mirror, you need to ask yourself, are you satisfied with where you are right now? And are you satisfied with where you are right now? And if the answer is no, then obviously your way of thinking and what you've been doing and your current habits do not work. So why in the world do you think that if you join a home-based business, when you hear about people that's making 5 figures and 6 figures a month and quitting their job, why do you think that you'll be able to do that overnight? You can't change 30 years of bad habits in 60 days. This takes time to grow as any business. But the thing about it is not you're waiting for time for your business to grow. You are cultivating yourself. When you grow, your business grows. Now, some of you may not like what I'm about to say, but this is the truth. Your business, where it is right now, is exactly where you are in your personal development. This is a scientific law. I didn't like hearing this when I heard this. When a multi-millionaire had said this to me a couple of years back. My ego wouldn't allow for that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm broke. He said, that's exactly where you are in your personal development. I'm like, what? I've read Think and Grow Rich. I've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've read all the books. I understand personal development is important. So what are you talking about that my personal development is not there? Because there's a difference between reading it and living it. That was a powerful statement. I stopped dead in my tracks. There's a difference between reading it and living it. I wasn't living it. I knew it. I read it. I could quote it, but I was not living it. And there's 2 words that these 2 words were so important. that it was banned from any motivational book at the turn of the century last year. And when Napoleon Hill wrote about this, they pulled it off the shelf because they were telling the secret. 2 words here: feelings, your emotions and feelings, and vibration. Those are 2 things that I was not applying in my life to understand. I don't have time to go over that tonight. That's much deeper. In fact, I was told to keep talking about it. If you even believe that. I was told to stop training on that. Stick to the basics. But I don't want you guys to have to go through what I did, where leaders do things that they wouldn't teach on. Where millionaires know things that they don't teach on. They share amongst themselves. Those 2 words, do what I did and do your own research to learn more about the power of feelings and emotions and vibration. Okay? But understand that this takes time to grow, so if you have 30 years of bad habits, you got to give yourself time to create new habits to start to build your business. And you will see benefits later on as time grows. This is not going to happen immediately. And if it does, and those of you that are on our team, and you've been on our team for the past 6 or 7 months, and you've seen some people come and go, and you wonder how is it that a top leader would leave the company or fall off. It's called self-destruction. It's like hitting the lottery. Anybody that plays the lottery and wins, 7 out of 10 of them go broke within 10 years. Why? They never learned the skills necessary to earn that amount of money. And once they had it, they definitely didn't have the skills necessary to keep that amount of money. And they oftentimes end up worse off than before they won the lottery. And when you interview those people, you will hear a lot of them say, I wish I never won the lottery. To the average person, like, why, have you lost your freaking mind? What do you mean you wish you never won $80 million? Right? Causes more problems. Money only enhances who you are. Money is only energy. It's a resource. If people look at money the wrong way. Wealthy people look at money completely different than wealthy people. Wealthy people look at money as a resource. That's it. Not as a golden grail or goose, but a resource so that they can do more things with it. Have money work for them. So I'm getting way off tangent here. That's another day for another training. Stay consistent and work your business. It won't work unless you work it. That's very important. Again, the lottery mindset. Just because you got started, I was making a point about the leaders. Well, here's what happens, and this thing's on this too, about being consistent with your business. When something happens to a leader and they blow up, and that happens periodically, some people may call it luck. There is no such thing as luck. But there is things where things do happen to you, and all of a sudden, you're now a national sales executive almost overnight. But did you learn the skills necessary to really make that happen, or you were just a product of a great team, a great system, and some right people following in your downline? Here's what separates the people who have it and the people who don't. They self-sabotage themselves. Have you ever seen somebody do that before? Have you ever seen somebody who's had it all and they just piss it away? Nobody's fault but their own. They self-sabotage. I have seen it happen to my own upline in vitel 4 times. So 4 different people. 4 different people who don't have the skills necessary to be on this level. And because somebody like myself, or Dr. Smith, or Reginald Stinson falls in their downline, they have great success. But the universe works things out. They think it's luck. How many of you would love to have me in your downline? If you're not prepared for it, eventually you're going to lose somebody like me. And 9 times out of 10, it happens because of your own self-destructive behavior. 4 members of my upline self-imploded. All they had to do was sit back, keep their mouths shut, and cash their checks. That's all they had to do. But they weren't ready for it. Better word for it, they weren't qualified for it. And so when you have top leaders that hit certain positions, and you see them self-destruct later on, and you're scratching your head as to why they weren't qualified for it yet. Yeah, I said this to even my wife before, or if you see people in relationships, and you say, I wish I would have met my wife 5 years early. You say, no, you weren't ready for her then. You wouldn't have been able to keep her 5 years ago. You're at a different point in your life now, so you're ready for it. So your business will grow in accordance to your personal development. As my own personal development grows, and I never stop, my business just keeps going to the next level. Would I have loved to have this success 3 years ago? Did I need to have this success 3 years ago in my life? Absolutely. I needed it far more then than I do now. But I wasn't prepared for it 3 years ago. I'm not making 6 figures a month right now because I was not prepared for it yet. I hope you catch what I'm saying here. And your business isn't going to work until you work it. A lot of people who quit the business are always, the reason is, I don't have the money. You don't have $49. You desperately need this business. I'm not getting any support from my upline. Here's the thing, guys. This is your business, not your upline's business, not your sponsor's business. You have just as much access to information as your sponsor does. The only difference between you and your sponsor is they got started before you. Does that mean they're going to make more money than you? Absolutely not. Take control of your own business. If you don't feel you're not getting the support you think you should, this is what you do. You turn around and give your downline the support you think you should be getting yourself. I never, ever rely on my upline to do anything for me, nor do I put the growth of my business in the hands of my upline. I can care less what they do. A lot of times, I don't want them. They're in my way. Right? I tell them to just cash your checks and just be there if I call you, if I need you. But that's the attitude you want to have. This is your business, not your sponsor's business. You will not become a millionaire by being needy or whining or a complainer. Okay? I'm not saying don't ask questions. That's something different. You're trying to get information. But if you feel that your success is dependent on your sponsor, I'm telling you right now, you will not have success, no matter who your sponsor is. You can be sponsored by the top person in the business. And if your mindset is, oh great, the top person in the business sponsored me, I'm guaranteed to have success. You're not going to have success. You have the wrong mindset there. It's about you. The most dependable hand is the one at the end of your wrist. Always remember that. The most dependable hand is the one at the end of your own wrist. You cannot expect to reap a harvest if you have not sowed any seed. You must put in some time if you want to get time. People ask me all the time, Brandon, how many hours should I put into my business on a weekly basis? But I say, I don't have any time because I'm so busy. I'm working. What? I said, Brandon, it's easy for you to build your business because that's all you do all day. You're full time. You can sit at home and just make phone calls all day and be on the computer prospecting or going out and meeting people one-on-one. I said, that's not what I did to get here. I had a full-time job. I had 2 businesses. I have a family. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I get up at 6 in the morning and I will go to sleep at 3 in the morning. I made the time. So if someone says, how much time should I spend on a week? That's a trick question to me. I don't understand it. Why? Because my answer is when the job gets done. That's one thing I was watching about these titans of industry. Railroad, oil, steel, electricity. They didn't rest until the job got done. They were never on a clock. If they worked from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. and then slept from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., that's what they did when the job got done. And if someone says, well, I don't have the time. Okay, well, my question for you is, what are you so busy doing? And is it what you're doing bringing you the type of money for you to be satisfied with? No, it's not. So why wouldn't you replace that time with something else that's actually going to make you some money?
No.
Hold on one second. I thought I'd beat it up the lines here. Alright. So why not replace whatever time you're doing right now with something that's actually going to make you some money? That's what I did. The only time I had that I could see after I came home at 6 or 7 o'clock was, well, I watch TV during this time, right? Or I'm playing video games, or I'm on Facebook having useless conversation, reading up on everybody else's lives and what they had for dinner and what they did during the day or who said what. That's not productive. That's not making me any money. So you have to cut that stuff out and replace it with money-making production. Things that's actually going to make you some money. So you have to figure that out. Now, it's very important that you need to have ignorance on fire. Ignorance on fire is way better than intelligence on ice. That's how I was. Ignorance on fire. I signed up before I understood everything. Made a couple $1,000 before I understood the compensation plan. It took 4.5 months to understand what generational bonus was. See, the way I operate is when you pay me, I look at it and see why did I get paid, and I'll just do more work to get more money. Very simplistic in that nature. And why? I learned something from a lot of millionaires and successful people. They are very quick to make a decision on something. They do not labor long at all. They don't think about it. This is what most people do when they see approach with something. Before they sign on the dotted line or join, they're already thinking to themselves, okay, how can I make this happen? And then they in their own mind, they debate. And if they feel that they can't make it happen, I'm not going to do it. Let me tell you what successful people do. They decide what it is, what they want, without concern if they believe they can make it happen or not, and then they just do it. Here's an example. Andrew Carnegie had a mentor. And his mentor wanted to connect the East and the West. Railroad. Problem was, there's a huge river that splits the country apart that was too big to build a bridge. So most people back in those days used ferries. So he's telling Andrew Carnegie, this is where I want the bridge. Can you do it? Andrew looked at the water in his mind, a mile across. Nobody had ever built a bridge before. 1 out of 4 bridges during those days collapsed with people on them. Right? And he said, yeah, I can do it. After he made the decision, then he sat down and said, how in the world am I going to make this bridge? And he sat with his engineers and they're like, it's impossible. He said, nothing's impossible. And then one of his advisors said, the only thing strong enough is steel. It's like a light bulb went off in Carnegie's head. Steel. So he built the bridge out of steel, the very first man-made thing that big out of steel. He didn't think about steel before he said, I'll build the bridge. He thought about it after he made the commitment to do so. You understand how that is? Here's another example. Thomas Edison. He was financed by J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan put $80 million behind Thomas Edison. $80 million in those days was the equivalent of about $2 billion. And he was competing with Nikola Tesla. Tesla had the AC energy, alternate current, and Edison had the DC electricity. And one of them, they said, we were going to power the entire northeastern seaboard. Can you do it? Yes! They had no idea how. They just made the decision. And then once they made the decision, they were committed. And once you're committed, you figure out a way. There was no turning back. They went for broke. Most people do the opposite. They try to figure out how they're going to do it before they commit to it. That's not good enough. That's like the soldiers, the generals who invaded an island and went to war. And when they got off the ship, the general burnt the ships. The only way home is either you die or you go through that army. You choose. Because there is no going back. When you're at that point, you will make something happen. You will figure out a way. I did that. When I decided to retire at 36 years old, 3.5 months in the business, I broke one of my own rules. And one of my rules is, and I used to teach this, don't even contemplate walking off your job until you have enough money saved that if anything were to happen, you can still pay all of your bills for a year. At least 6 months in the year in your business before you consider walking off your job. I did it at 3.5 months because I said, you know what, I'm burning, but there is no going back. There's only one way, and that one way is to succeed. And I'm going to succeed by any means necessary. There is no going back. There is no, if this doesn't work, the job's still there waiting for me to come back to as a safety net. Risk. I'm able to risk my life. Most people don't want to risk $49. See the difference here? Ignorance on fire is far more better than intelligence on ice. Paralysis of analysis. Start to develop the right mental attitude. Have long-term thinking. Treat your business like $1 million business, not $100 business. Treat your business like $1 million business. Why is that important? It's all about value. If you don't value your business, then you're not going to put any work to it, right? You're not going to do what it takes to have success. You got to treat it like just some kind of $100 business for anything, right? This is very, very important. Yeah, you might have only paid $50 or $100, but the value of the business is how much do you want to make out of it? See, the value of this business for me is $1 million a month. That is what I can see making. $1 million a month. So when I'm faced with $100 a month and making $1 million a month, which one do you think I'm spending most of my time focusing on? $1 million a month. Because most people don't have their goal in mind. They're like, can I afford $50 a month? I can't afford $50 a month. It's $1.50 a day. I can't afford that. I need to cancel next month. Now, they didn't even think about, what if I was making $500 a month? What if I was making spending $100 a month. $50 pays for the business, and $50 is profit. What if I focus on working my business for 30 days so that I can afford the business? Most people don't think like that. So you want to separate yourself by thinking that your business is worth far more than what you're paying for. The most important things you can bring to your vital business is work ethic, desire, commitment, be coachable, and excitement. All that means is, take all those together, especially commitment, is doing what you say you're going to do and what you signed up to do long after the feeling of excitement has passed. Think about when you start dating somebody for the first time. You got fireworks in your eyes. You can't wait to be around them. You can't wait to be together. You have all this excitement, this passion, or lust, however you want to call it. And then as time goes by, the newness kind of wears off. It's not that exciting anymore. You already know what you got. It's like the same chicken every single night. You're not excited anymore. And then all of a sudden somebody new comes by that's exciting to you again. So you drop that one and go with the new person that's exciting. And you do this over and over and over and over and over again. Because you were never committed in the first place. You were dating your business. All right? You were dating your business. Where if you want to have success, you have to marry your business. I thought it was very interesting, the story of Andrew Carnegie, who his entire life, he wanted to be the richest man in the world. But not the richest man in the world, really. He wanted to beat John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller, for most of Andrew's life, was worth 3 to 7 times more than Carnegie was. Carnegie started the steel industry. All the cities, the major cities back in those days, was built by Andrew Carnegie. He still wasn't worth nearly close to what Rockefeller was worth. And finally, at the end, J.P. Morgan bought out Carnegie's steel business and paid $480 million. That's about $300 billion worth. Well, back in those days. So you got to figure, once that deal was made, it made Carnegie the richest man in the world at $380 billion net worth. It was a good and a sad day for him, because he accomplished his goal, and his goal wasn't to be the richest man in the world, it was just to be richer than Rockefeller. The thing about money with those guys is, it's not like Rockefeller could buy anything that Carnegie couldn't. Once you have a certain amount of money, you can buy everything you want tenfold. It's just a game at that point. It's just who has the highest score. And so once he accomplished that, he realized that he lost something. He lost his business, which was his passion. It was his life. It was his wife. He married his business. So he accomplished the goal, but realized, I lost something. See, you want to marry your business. And when you marry your business, you stick with it through good and bad. I like how Donald Trump said it. Most Americans never want to face failure. They never want to experience the hard times. But it's the hard times that make you stronger. It's the hard times that force your brain to think of a way out. And I'm using a lot of quotes of these old guys because for the past 2 days, I've been watching this stuff. It forces you to think out the box. Here's another example. When J.P. Morgan was backing Thomas Edison, and when the Westinghouse was backing Nikola Tesla over the AC electricity and the DC electricity. Niagara Falls power plant was being built, and they were going to give the contract to either Tesla or Edison. J.P. Morgan invested everything he had behind Edison. Unfortunately, Tesla's AC electricity, which is what we currently use today, was far more efficient and powerful than Edison's DC. Whoever won the contract would become one of the most powerful companies on the planet. Whoever lost the contract, it would potentially ruin their entire company. Only one person could become the winner. Well, Westinghouse and Tesla won the contract. Normally, to the normal man, that would have ruined somebody like J.P. Morgan. For the biggest failure of J.P. Morgan's life, with billions of dollars invested, instead of jumping off a bridge like a lot of people did during those times when you lose billions of dollars, he thought about it for a second and said, there's opportunity in this defeat. And he was ruthless in financial dealings and ended up cutting Edison loose and forcing the Westinghouse to sell to him. So he just bought out his competition. And now he got the contract. Because he owns the company. And he now owns, and it's ruthless in things that they did, but he thought of a way out amongst his biggest defeats. Some of us would cry if we lost $2,000. Can you imagine losing $2 billion? And looking back on it, you know what he said? If I didn't go through that defeat, I would have never become the man I am today. Isn't that amazing how that works? You would have never become as successful of a businessman if it hadn't been for that defeat. And it was a big defeat. I love that show. I gotta watch that show again. Anyways, let's move on. Emotional roller coaster. Go get the book, Your First Year in Network Marketing by Mark Yarnell. That would put you 6 months ahead of the game. Your First Year in Network Marketing by Mark Yarnell. You will be going through an emotional roller coaster in business. You're going to have a lot of people say no. You're going to have a lot of setbacks. You're going to have a lot of things that you expected to happen not happen. And you're going to have some great things happen as well. You must remain on an even emotional keel. You can't get too excited when something great happens, and you can't get too depressed when something bad happens. You gotta ride that emotional roller coaster. Because I guarantee something that you don't want to happen or you're not expecting will happen. A couple of nights ago, I listened to a training I did back in September of last year. And I was watching, because it was like a training like a webinar, and I was looking at the people that was on the webinar at that time, and I was listening to myself. And I said, you know, most of you guys aren't going to be here 6 months from now. Some of you that I think will are not going to be here. Some of you I think won't will still be here. And a lot of my leaders, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here. I'm committed for life. And I look back on it now, and I see all the names of those people who are not here. And I still don't lose a night's sleep over it. Why? Because I'm still here. That was the most important thing for me. Can I still be here in 6 months from now? You're not letting me down by you not being here. You're letting yourself down. That's very interesting. You got to be able to ride the emotional roller coaster. Let's talk about the character quadrant. There's 4 topic personalities of people that you're going to meet out there. This is very important for you to understand. Because most people go through life and interact with other people as if everybody has the same personality as themselves. That's important to know this, because Not everybody has the same personality as you. Therefore, you're going to always be turning off 3/4 of the population. You're only going to attract 1/4 of the population. So by understanding that not everybody's like you and other people have different traits, then you know how to deal with them when you're talking to them. You know how to approach them. The first trait is a shark. Now, most people have a combination of all these traits, but every single person is dominated by one specific trait. So you got the sharks out there. And the sharks are people that are driven by money, respect, power, ambition, very high goals. They want to be seen. Like the men in this, the Titans of the last century, all sharks. They all had more money than they could ever spend. They were so freaking rich that when the government was about to collapse, they bailed out the government. What do we see today? The government bailing everybody else out. Back then, they bailed out the government. They gave the government stimulus package loan. See that? That's how big they were. They were sharks. If you know a shark, or if you are a shark, type the name in the chat box. Then you have whales. And whales is the opposite of sharks. Whales love to help people. They love to be able to be a humanitarian type of a person. Just look at people's career field. That will give you a good idea of what their personality trait is. Doctors, nurses, fire department, policemen, although we can, sometimes they like that authority, the sharks. But you gotta love helping other people to put your life on the line for somebody else. Well, for whales, people that work in the church, non-profit organization, therapists, psychiatrists, whales. I just deity that want to help the world. If you know a whale or are a whale, type their name in the chat box. Then you have the dolphins. Dolphins just want to have fun. If they're not having fun on their job, they will quit their job. If they do have a job and they're making a whole lot of money in it and they're not having fun, they don't care about the money. They're dolphins. They want to enjoy life. Whether they're doing so with money in the bank or no money in the bank. They're going to gravitate to things that they enjoy. Then you have urchins. I know somebody told me last week after I did this training, well, you got guys out there that are billionaires that are dolphins, Brandon. They're not sharks. They're not whales. They're dolphins. All they want to do is bring their money and have fun. I say, no. You got to understand what I say. We all have all of these traits in us, but we're dominated by one. And once the sharks, this is what happens with sharks. Once they've satisfied that need, and they're flat out filthy wealthy, they now have the time to indulge their dolphin side with no consequence. And go do whatever they want to do with their money and have a lot of fun. Or they may indulge their whale side of them. Bill Gates, for the Linda and Gates Foundation, Warren Buffett, even Andrew Carnegie, Vanderbilt. How many libraries and how many school colleges, how many buildings are named after them for the money that they donate? And you can't say, no matter what their intent was, that it didn't do some good. It helped people. It certainly helped people. But they got money out of the way as an issue first before they did that. Then you have the urchins. And oh man, I can't stand the urchins. The urchins, I'm dealing with an urchin right now, blowing up my Facebook as I typed this, and I told her, get on the training and you're going to learn this stuff. Well, can you tell me this? Get on the training. Good grief. And it's like I repeat myself on questions. And it's to the point I think, are you just asking me questions just because? Just to see if you're going to give me a break? But it's okay. Urchins are legitimate. Why am I going to sign up with something I don't know? I got to know all the information first. I got to know where the company is located. When was it started? What's its business ID code? What's Scott Rogers' social security number? I got to know these things. How can I go out there and talk to people about the business if I don't even know about the business? How would that make me look? I'm a professional. I got to make sure all my T's are crossed and my I's are dotted. And that's a valid point. Unfortunately, most of those people never really get anywhere in life. You find those type of people in the education field. And I can say so because I'm in that field. My wife is too. She's got a master's degree in it. They gotta know everything first before they move a muscle. Those are people that are constantly getting ready. They're on the starting block. They're always refining their tools, refining their knowledge, getting ready to go. They get ready, set, get ready, set, and they never actually go anywhere. Educated fools is what I call them. However, this is what happens to urchins once they do get all their information and they eventually decide to make a decision. They end up turning into sharks, and they end up making the most money. That's right. Urchins end up making the most money. Why is this? Why do they make more money than sharks? Because urchins now are 100% committed to what they are doing. And since they're 100% committed, nobody can tell them nothing. They turn into sharks. They stay with the company longer than anybody else. They get their research. They're 100% convinced what they're doing with the company. So when somebody else comes to them with another company, they laugh at them. And they start asking them those same questions. They don't go anywhere. And in this industry, if you don't quit, you don't give up, and you stay in it long enough, you're bound to all of a sudden reach the top. It's just a statistical fact. No matter what business you're in. You can find the worst company out there. I guarantee if you stay in it consistently for 10 years, you will reach the top. It's just a fact. No matter how much experience you have or lack of experience, it's just the numbers. If you know any urchins, type their name in the chat box. But it's important for you to know these personality traits, because when you go out there and you talk to people and you're listening to people, you will know what their trait is, and now you will know how to approach them. You can't approach a whale talking about, hey, how would you like to make $1,000 in a week for referring 3 people to the business? What? How's that helping it? Nah, I don't think so. Not me. In fact, they get turned off by that. You can't go up to a shark talking about how many people you can help. I don't care about that. You can't go to an urchin without the facts. You have to know the facts. And if you want to be well-rounded, you want to be proficient in all of these traits. It's like a chameleon. When I'm talking to a whale, the whale will think they're talking to a whale as well. Like that. When I'm talking to a whale, the whale will think that I'm talking to a whale as well. Because I can talk like a whale. I can talk like a shark. I can talk like a dolphin. And I can talk like an urchin. Now, instead of only being able to relate to 1/4 of the population, you can relate to everybody in the population. You ever want to be good at edifying somebody? Well, I don't know that person. How can I edify them? Think of the 4 personality traits. And all you have to say, let me pick a name on here. Let's say Gerald, for example. You don't know anything about Gerald, but Gerald is a leader in the company. And you want to edify Gerald. they're doing a presentation. So you say, you know what? You got to come on to this presentation to hear from the leader. His name is Gerald. Gerald knows 100% of the facts about this business. He's having a whole lot of fun, helping a lot of people, and making a lot of money. You got to come hear what he has to say. I just hit every single personality trait. So if I don't know somebody's personality, I just triggered one of them. Once they hear picked up on. Can you guys still hear me? I think the call had dropped.
We can hear you.
Unmuted.
Alright,
We can hear you now. Muted.
Alright, I don't know why that happened, but the line dropped. But anyways, like I was saying, this is the most important part right here as far as emotions and selling yourself. And the way you think. It goes back to that book, Think and Grow Rich. Well, Earl Nightingale said, the strangest secret is, the strangest thing is that what you think about is what you become most of the time. What you think about is what you become most of the time. We have spent our entire lives learning and practicing on how to think negatively. It has become a habit. So even when we think positively, it's not enough because it's still drowned out by the negative. That movie came out called The Secret, and The Secret talked about all you have to do is think about it and envision it, and all your dreams can come true. That's only partially correct. Because you got a whole bunch of people out there that saw that movie, don't know nothing about personal development, and they sit there and they're just thinking about certain things, and then it doesn't happen within a week, and they start saying this is a fraud, it doesn't work. The reason why it didn't work for them is because their brain is more wired toward thinking about negative instead of thinking about positive. You have to retrain your brain. It's like a muscle. You have to keep working at that muscle for it to get stronger. And eventually the positive neurons in your brain will outweigh the negative neurons in your brain. Think about if you want to shoot, what's a good example here? No, that's not right. I'll come up with another training. But it's like pushing a rock up the hill. If you're not used to thinking positive, when you start having positive thoughts, you're pushing the rock up the hill. When you have a negative thought, you've been doing that for so long, you don't have to push a rock up the hill. The rock automatically starts going downhill. And the more positive thoughts you start having and practicing with this, it begins to get easier to have these thoughts. Because naturally we start thinking negative on everything. We're always skeptical about something. So, a good example, for those of you who I've lost, you can catch what I say. Imagine a woman who is always in a bad relationship. Always in a bad relationship. And even her friends start noticing, every single guy you date is exactly the same with a different name. You ever think that maybe you're the problem? What do you mean? How did I be the problem? I didn't ask for this. You didn't? Let's look at that, for example. Let's say you sit down in the psychiatrist's chair and the psychiatrist says, tell me, what are you looking for in a man? And she says, well, I don't want a man who beats me. I don't want a man who disrespects me. I don't want a man who verbally abuses me. I don't want a man who does drugs and drinks and smokes. I don't want a man who stays out late at night hanging with the boys and doesn't come home. I don't want a man who disrespects me in front of my children. All right. That sounds logical, doesn't it? That makes perfectly sense. No woman wants a man like that. Here's the problem. That is all she is thinking about. The universe does not hear negative. The only thing the universe picks up is your emotion. Your emotion is what drives your vibration. And since her thoughts in her head is what she doesn't want, she's always feeling bad. She has a reaction to those words. Because the universe doesn't understand words either. It only understands emotion. How many languages are there on this planet? Languages may be the same, but the emotions and feelings remain the same. So a word can generate a certain emotional response from you. And if your brain is constantly thinking about what you don't want, your body and your brain is going to have an emotional reaction to what you're thinking about. So she keeps attracting men who beat her, who treat her bad, who drink and smoke, who stay out late at night, who disrespect her in front of her kid, who verbally abuses her. Why? Because that's the vibration she's putting out. So instead, this is what she should say. I want a man who loves me, who respects me, who treats me good, treats me like a princess and a queen, wants to be with me, treats me good in front of my children, makes me feel special. Now, if your brain is having those thoughts, what emotional response does your body automatically have? Feelings of good, of calm, of safety, of security. And that's the vibration that your body is sending out, because that's the emotion that you are focusing on. And like a magnet, that is what you're going to attract. And when the psychiatrist reveals this to her, and she starts switching her thinking, then all of a sudden, different type of men is now attracted to her. You can't point blame at everybody else. You first have to look within yourself. So same thing goes for business. Most people are thinking about what they don't want. They're thinking about afraid of not meeting this goal. They're thinking about, what if my downline quits on me? You know, and since that's what they think about, that is what they attract. Those are the type of people they attract to them. Let me go on to the next slide here, because this one will close this out. Perception becomes reality. You have to look in the mirror. Go in the mirror. Because people say, well, I want a superstar on my team. I want to sign somebody up like Curtis Cross. I want to have that type of person. How come I can't have somebody on the team at least as good as me? If I had 5 people on the team just like me, where would my business, people, that's what you say. So I want you to seriously go in the mirror, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself this question. Would I sign up with you? And be honest. It's one thing to lie and fake it till you make it to everybody else. It's another if you're going to lie to yourself. Then you're really a lost cause. If you can't even be honest with yourself, trying to fool your own brain. If the answer is no, then you ask yourself this question. Why not? What skills or traits are you lacking, which is why people aren't going to sign up with you? Once you identify that, now you know what to work on. Now you know what to work on. That's how you start to grow. You want to act as if. Not fake it till you make it. But act as if you're an RVP. Act as if you're where you want to be. Fake it till you make it is telling everybody you're a regional vice president when you're not a regional vice president. But nobody can confirm that or not, so you're faking it. Acting as if is if just because of the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, people automatically assume that you're an RVP. Why? Because you believe you're an RVP. You act like one. See, when I first came into this business, I did not see marketing. I did not see team leader. I did not see area sales manager. I did not see regional sales manager. I only saw the top. I'm going to get there as fast as possible. In fact, I said I will hit that position. I had some of my friends were like, well, maybe it'll take like 90 days, maybe 4 months. Oh, no, you don't understand. I'm going to hit this in 2 months. 2 months. I said that from the beginning. Do you think I talked differently back then than I do now? No. I talk and act and carry myself exactly as I did the first day I came into the business. Why? Because I acted like I was an RVP. As a matter of fact, right now, I act as if I own the company. I don't own the company, but then again, I do own the company. I act as if. That dictates my nature. So when something goes bad, I'm committed to it, to work it out to make sure we can become better, instead of failing because I see a nice, prettier skirt walking down the street. You take ownership. Act as if. And you will be amazed at what starts to happen, because people will join you because they feel a vibe off of you. And there's that word again. I said at the very beginning, there's 2 words that separate 97% of the population from 3%. Feelings or emotions and vibration. The 3% understand those 2 words and actively use it in their day-to-day lives. 97% of the people have no clue the power and the meaning of those 2 words. My challenge to you is go out and do your own research to discover it. And I'll give you some hints here. I've been reading Oprah said, I already do that stuff. I didn't know there was a name to it. All successful people do and know this. But read the book, The Law, yes, Think and Grow Rich, but The Law of Success in 15 or 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich is like a movie preview of the real deal. It's like watching, Will Smith has a new movie coming out called After Earth, and he says something powerful in the trailer. He says, fear is not real. Don't get me wrong. The danger is very real. The fear is a choice. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm done. The movie is done. I'm sold. But that's just a preview of what the 2.5-hour movie is going to be all about. The Think and Grow Rich is just a preview of this stuff that the wealthy people back then have known for centuries and passed down, and they teach it to each other, and they don't share with the public. And when Napoleon started running his mouth about vibration, they yanked that stuff off the shelves. I don't know, Brandon, how do you know all this information? This is a profession. This is not just a hobby. This is not just something I want to stick my feet in. It'll be cool if I make a couple $100. This is my profession. And since it's my profession, I want to know its history. I want to know the major players. If I want to be a successful person, I want to know about other successful people and what they've done to get where they are. You want to be an historian. And all the readings that I've done, I've noticed a common theme. No matter if it's the 1800s or today, all the successful people do the exact same thing, or better yet, they operate in a certain way. Another book for you to get is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And my most famous quote in that entire book, and there's a lot of stuff in there, it's a short read, there's a lot of stuff in there that's important. But the one thing that stood out for me, he says that success is not in doing certain things. Success is not in doing certain things. Success is in doing things in a certain way. Success is in doing things in a certain way. Most people aren't going to get that. Like, doesn't that mean the same thing? I'll say it one more time in one whole. Success is not in doing certain things. Success is in doing things in a certain way. Remember I said that there's 24 hours in a day for everybody? But why is it that one person's able to have success and another person doing the exact same thing doesn't? Because they operate in a certain way. That was really important to me. So you make it a point to study and know about other successful people in the industry, dead and alive. There's a network marketing convention of Association of Network Marketing Professionals coming up in March. And we're going to that. You want to hang out. This is something else Henry Ford said. He said, if I were to lose all my money, the first thing I would do is go to wherever rich people hang out and hang out with them. Just to be around them. Why? Because of the vibration they're giving off, he wants to be hitting his body. Because they're going to be attracting that stuff to them. He wants to be right in the middle of it. When you go to church, isn't there a difference between watching the sermon at home on your TV and actually being in the church building with a whole other bunch of like-minded folks giving off that vibration? I can't stand the sport of hockey. But when I went to the Staples Center and saw the hockey game, I watched the Kings play, oh man, that was the most greatest experience of hockey I have ever experienced. I loved it. The energy that was in the building that you can feel. This stuff is real. This isn't some hocus pocus stuff. The Bible talks about this. Most people just don't know it. It's not taught in regular school. So anyway, guys, that is the mindset training. I apologize for the technical difficulty earlier. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. I didn't go as long as, that lasted, 2.5 hours, 2 hours. Done just a little over an hour. So thank you guys for taking time out of your schedule. I'm not going to be doing another mindset training probably for a month. I'm going to have some of our other leaders do them next week, or I'm going to be doing more generic training on how to get started the right way. And then I'll do a mindset training maybe once every 3 weeks or once a month. But next week, either I'm going to have one of the leaders do a mindset training, or I'm going to be doing, the getting started training. What do I do now? Not the GST. Lou Smith does the GST on Sunday night, getting started training. But I'm talking about, I need to make $500 a month now. And I'll show you exactly how to do so. So with that, guys, thank you guys for joining us tonight. My name is Brendan Ivey, Regional Vice President. Tomorrow we have our events. Check the schedule so you can see what's taking place. There is no webinar at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And depending on the leaders, because it is the Super Bowl, in fact, I'm going to talk to the leaders. You'll see an email tomorrow morning about the events for tomorrow. I know I'm going to be at a Super Bowl party, and I don't know if we're going to have a team call. But we're going to let you know. Stay tuned to the emails. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Have a safe night if you're not home. And remember what I said at the beginning, before you go to sleep tonight, think about what you would do with your life if money was no longer an issue. What would you do? And then even more important, how does it make you feel to actually have accomplished it? What does it feel like to have that option as a choice? Instead of it being a dream, imagine that it was real. How would it make you feel? And capture and hold on to that feeling. All right, guys? God bless. Good night. Bye-bye.